She sat in the same position as Swietoslawa, with her legs tucked under her, head cocked to one side. Her face revealed nothing. Bolesław moved his shoulders to settle his chainmail over his leather kaftan. He buckled his belt. He checked that his knife slid smoothly from its sheath. Sweeping hair away from his face, he glanced at his waiting comrades. Dark-eyed Zarad, ginger Bjornar, and fair-haired, skinny Jaska stood at the chamber's door, watching him tensely. 2 dogs lay at Bolesław's feet. "Ready?" he asked. "Your cloak," Jaksa said, throwing him the wolf fur-lined wool. "Gloves," Bjornar added as he passed them over. "And your sword." Zarad's eyes flashed in the chamber's darkness. One of the dogs raised its head, alert. "No," Bolesław said, pulling on his gloves. A barely discernible shadow flickered across his face. "That wasn't Father's order." The other 3 nodded as if on command, and Zarad whistled quietly with admiration for the absent man. "The Duke," he added. They left the room, leaving the door open. Bolesław called back over his shoulder. "Dujon, guard the dogs." Their footsteps echoed on the stone floor of the Palatium. Then, nothing. A young man emerged from the shadows, slender and tall, dressed inconspicuously, unarmed. The dogs whined. Dujon walked over and patted their heads. He poured water into their bowls and began to pick up the items strewn around the room. He placed the sword carefully back on its stand. Swietoslawa lay draped over the bench. "Is the princess asleep?" The servant repeated the question insistently. The girl rose from the chest silently and walked over to the princess's still form. She crouched next to Swietoslawa and, gently sweeping away her hair, looked in the princess's face. The silent girl raised her eyes to the servant and nodded in confirmation. The servant sighed with relief. She covered Swietoslawa with a blanket and picked up the objects scattered around them. 2 bone combs, a hairband decorated with silver, silk hair ribbons for plaits. She closed it all in a box and glanced nervously around the room. A cup of now cold tea stood on the edge of the table. The servant poured it into the fire, and the remnants evaporated quickly. She dried her fingers on the edge of her dress. "Take off her shoes when she wakes up. Help her get into bed, cover her, and wait by the fire. Anyway, you know what to do," she said to the girl, and left without waiting for a response. The door closed behind her with a hollow clunk. Swietoslawa was a master at faking sleep. Now she opened her eyes, which were dark with anger. "What a bitch," she whispered to the girl crouched in front of her. The girl placed a finger on her lips and gestured toward the door. Swietoslawa remained on the bench, but pushed away the covers. They could hear footsteps approaching the other side of the door. The 2 looked at each other, keeping still. Then the silent girl took the blanket and laid it on the stone floor. The princess was wearing tall, hobnailed boots, but they made no sound as the girls walked carefully across the soft fabric. Bolesław listened to the rhythm of footsteps on the bridge. Counting the steady footfalls helped to steady his own thoughts. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. After another moment, he stepped onto the bridge too. Bjornar and Zarad by his side, Jaska bringing up the rear. The East Bridge. As a boy, it had taken him 400 steps to cross it, then 300. Every year he would check until now, at 16, it took him the same number of steps as it took a grown man, 250.